Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is etefevoke. So I spent my night reading Circe by Madeline Miller. I'm just going to say first of all that peer pressure is real. I never had plans of reading this book because I was seeing it all over booktube and bookstagram, and I said, okay, I have to get on board with this book as well. And the cover is really inviting. So I decided to read it and I spent my night reading it. And I just have so many thoughts. First, those names are a mouthful. I know that I'm supposed to be used to names like that because it's quite obvious. I'm Nigerian and we have really thick names, but the names were really a mouthful. And was I the only one who was pronouncing Circe wrong? I was saying Circe all this while until I heard that it was actually Circe, not Circe. So I saved myself that embarrassment quickly. Also, another thought was that are gods like human beings? I really had that thought in my head. Like, when I think of gods, are gods like human beings? I actually have a lot of thoughts about this book, so let's jump right in. Although I am not really new to Greek mythology, I have been seeing these movies everywhere. I have never really read any of this Greek mythology before. I just see the movies. So while I was growing up, I saw the Odyssey, and that was my first introduction to Circe. But while I was watching this movie, I said to myself, who is this woman turning men to pigs? And please, 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 this man has a wife. So you and your small voice and your pretty face, because the lady was really pretty in the movie, get out. So that was my thoughts watching the Odyssey. I did not like this woman. I didn't even pay attention to her. So it was when I was reading, they were like, okay, this book, the woman had she's a god. This god had encounter with Odysseus during his journey, and I was like, oh, I've seen Odyssey before. So let me read this book. This woman, about this woman that was changing men to pigs. Let me just hear a story. But I never liked her. Never liked her growing up. So but now I picked up this book and my shoulders slumped because Madeline, although it's a work of fiction, Madeline decided to give us another perspective, and which was not lesson number one, and that is life is about perception. There are two sides to every story. So this lady who changed men to pigs and who fell under the charm of strong Odysseus, who outsmarted her, she has a perspective too, and that's true. I never thought of that. So Madeline Miller really gave me this new perspective, and I'm like, okay, this book is told from the first person point of view, so it's Cersei telling the story. And in as much as their names are a mouthful, and I don't really know who bettered who or who is who most of the time, but I really enjoy Greek mythology. I've had a good load of them growing up, so I really enjoy it. And if you don't really have any idea of Greek mythology, it's fine. You can actually read this book because it's really nice. And Madeline Miller, at the end of the day, did well to break down the names at the end of the book and just tell you who is who and what is what. So it's really nice. And the story is really enjoyable. You just really follow it. It's almost like a coming of age story because we see Circe from when she was born, and we're told that she was different. Her father is Helios, the sun god, and her mother is Perse from Oceanus. And since Circe tells us that when she was born, she was different. They didn't really have a name for what she was. Yes, she is a lesser god, but there was really no prophecy in her birth. And when she was born, the mother was like, oh, come, let's make a better one, because there was nothing special about her. So Circe spent most of her life, and for someone who's immortal, that means thousands of years trying to discover who she really was. She was in the hold of her father. Her siblings were mean to her, except her brother, except one of her brothers. So Circe was really trying to find herself until she met Prometheus, and she had this side of her that was really sympathetic of people and almost trusting. So when she met Prometheus and she helped him, she got to meet a human being who she fell in love with, and she decided to make him a god just like her because she loves him. And the man turned out to be a major idiot he did not even like Circe. And talk about unrequited love. Unrequited love is the worst thing that can happen to anybody. I don't care what it is. Unrequited love is the worst. And that happened to Circe. And in her rage, she created a monster, that's Scylla. And this would lead her to meeting a lot of weary travelers, especially who were Muslim men, because at that time those Muslim men were traveling up and down, up and down, up and down the sea. So she met a lot of men, and that's when she started turning them to pigs, which was well deserved, if you ask me. If you read, because from Circe's perspective, the men were actually idiots. They were idiots. So I think they had it coming. They deserved whatever she gave to them. Now that I have seen it from Madeline Miller's point of view, yeah. So reading this book was really enjoyable experience, because there's something about this Greek mythology that's always very beautiful. First, these gods do nothing. They just live in really exquisite palace. Like now, see this Circe was sentenced to a deserted island. That if you follow the story, the way she described the island was really beautiful, and I would like to be in that kind of island, if you ask me. So these people are basically, okay, they're not really people. These gods are basically lounging, enjoying themselves, being petty. Who wouldn't want that kind of life? Having finery, people praying to them, begging them, asking them for all sorts of favors, and they're just basically lounging, enjoying their life. You are going to stay pretty. Like, mortality is nothing to you, time is nothing to you. So you get to stay the way, like, for example, imagine I'm a god, I've stayed this way for years to come, because time means nothing. Hi. And I think it's really nice. First, that's why I love Greek mythology, because of the finery that comes with it. It just gives you this imagination in your head that, oh, what if I was a god? So that's why I said are gods like us, because they are so petty, so petty, and they're just really pitting against each other, trying to outdo the other one, and they're really mean. Because Circe's sister was one of those mean girls, like you can sit with us type of people. She was really mean to Circe, and I'm like, this is your elder sister, for crying out loud. Show some respect. Like, that's Nigerian in me actually, but she was really mean to Circe. Also, like I said in the beginning, there's everything about this life about perception. So I actually did not like Circe before. Okay, I didn't really pay her any mind, but when I was watching the movie Odyssey, I was just angry, because I was like, who is this woman? He has Penelope to go home to. So I don't know what you're trying to do. Just let this man be and let him continue his journey. Then he met Calypso, and I was angry too. But you know what I mean? If you've seen the movie, I know you felt that kind of rage because of how Circe was painted and how she was portrayed. But seeing it from my perspective, we see it differently. Then another thing that I so much admired is how gods are like us, because that motherhood, it's still there. Because we see how Circe gave birth to a child was so wow. That was one of my favorite scenes in the book. And she used her journey through motherhood, how the baby would not sleep, how the baby was stressing her out. And I'm like, you are a god. But she said she didn't want to use magic on her child. But the child was driving her crazy, and she loved him so much. And there was a time when when the child was in danger, and she tried to list out things that she would do to protect her child, and she was like, everything, she would do anything to protect her child. And I really find that so admirable. I love Circe's strength, because even though she spent years just trying to find herself, and she was so trusting of people easily, but I really admire that despite all of that, she found herself. Yeah, it just teaches us. There's a line from Game of Thrones that I love so much. It was said by, what's her name, Sansa. It went along these lines, like, yes, she's a slow learner, but at least she learns. So, and I think that applies to Circe. Yes, it took a while for her to come to realize who she really was. It took a while for her to come to terms with a lot of things. It took a while for her to understand some kind of things, but she learned. And I think you'll enjoy this book. It's really nice. It's like a coming of age story. It's a fantasy. It's just really you enjoying the moment. You're just really relaxing and just going through a journey. And there are a lot of, should I say, feature guest appearance. Well, there are a lot of names you already know before. If you're following, if you've seen these Greek mythology movies and if you've seen a book and all that, so they mentioned Jason, and you know Jason from the Golden Fleece. Then Odysseus, obviously, Prometheus, the Minotaur, Scylla, just really Hermes. Then a lot of the gods, a lot of people heard about the Titans, Athena, just really many names that we already know. Zeus, I've never, Helios, yeah, Helios. So that's it, yeah. So if you're not really, like I said earlier, if you're not into Greek mythology, that's fine. You can still read this book and just enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. Yeah. So that's it for Circe. Thank you, Madeline Miller, for writing this nice perspective. It really taught me a lesson. Don't be quick to judge or to hear both sides of the story. So if you've not read this book, I recommend it. Yeah, you can read it. Although I'm not really swooning about the book, yeah, but is it enjoyable? Yes. I really spent my night of just going through it, imagining it, places, really vivid imagination, right? And I was just trying to put myself in the shoes of the gods. So that was it. If you read this book and you've enjoyed it, please tell me what you think. And yeah, that's basically it. Until next time, do take a good care of yourself. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel. I always say this. Do not forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Please leave a comment. Thank you. Okay, until next time, goodbye.